What if you could listen in on a conversation between me and a digital marketing strategist for companies like Salesforce, Mint, Intuit, and other Fortune 500 companies? What would you learn from that conversation? Well, today is your lucky day. I'm interviewing the incredible Sujan Patel, who is partner at Ramp Ventures and co-founder of Mailshake. He is the guy behind the strategies of these incredible companies that we just shared. And today he's going to give you real tactical advice that is super applicable. And this is what's working now. Welcome back, friends. This is Katie Richardson. This is What's Working Now. And today we are talking to an incredible marketer who's going to show us how to build a word of mouth machine. This is something that I'm really curious about. I know you're probably dying to know too. So today we have Sujan Patel, who is let me pull up your bio just a second. He's a partner at Ramp Ventures and co-founder of Mailshake. He has over 200 years of marketing experience and has led the digital marketing strategy for companies like, and you'll recognize these names, Salesforce, Mint, Intuit, and many other Fortune 500 caliber companies. Sujan, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm pumped to talk to you today about word of mouth. It's huge.
And I'm so excited because organic has I've been an entrepreneur for 18 years and it has changed a lot over the last 18 years. So I am so curious to hear more about, and I totally cut you off, but I'm really excited. Yeah. I'm excited to hear how you can build that word of mouth machine. And I think I watch so many entrepreneurs who have real value that they're adding, and yet they don't necessarily know the marketing techniques. And so I'm excited to empower those individuals, maybe expose what they're missing and show them the new opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think let's start with the very simple thing. When people experience whatever you're selling, whether it's a software product, an e-commerce product, a physical info product, whatever it is, when a customer has an experience with or engages with your product, they have an experience. Mm-hmm. And they have generally an emotion with that. The emotion can be meh, right? Not a good or bad experience. So that is the part we want to avoid. We want to be in the meh part of it. We want to be either way above it and amazing and create this this solved my problem. I'm euphoric. I'm super happy. I feel like before I was doing whatever this product I bought was or software I bought was, I was doing it this way and I felt bad, or this was taking too much time, whatever it is. Or it's this doesn't meet my expectations, or that this is not good. Either way, they're going to talk about it. They're going to think about it. It's it's a little bit more imprinted in their brain, whether it's, again, good or bad. This is why you don't get a 3-star review. You get a 4 or 5 or 1 or 2 for the most part, right? And the 2 is just kind of well, it was shitty, but it was not that bad, right? It wasn't the worst thing ever, right? But this is why, when you go to a restaurant, if you have a bad experience, you're more inclined to leave that review because it imprinted a bad taste in your mouth, maybe sometimes actual bad taste. But so that's what I would call the core principle, where you want to optimize. And a lot of times it's the first experience. It's getting people to the aha moment. And this, I've run software companies for the last 10 years, but this can apply to physical products, info products. This can apply to every single company out there, right? When you buy an iPhone, it's that unboxing experience is pretty freaking cool. Yeah. And there's those little subtle details, right? Of on the iPhone, I believe they still do this, where the time they announce the actual product is the time that's default on there, and then it changes. Or on the box, I believe it's the time they announced it. So it's a little tiny detail. Now, only nerdy folks who follow Apple for a long time would know that. That's been there for since Steve Jobs first announced it, and it's 9:51 a.m. or something like that. But anyways, for Mailshake and some of our companies, it was it's just we kind of are a breath of fresh air of how easy it is to go through and get your campaign set up. So it's the aha moment. It's the click, 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 I'm done. Right. So for us, it was let's take out unnecessary steps, even form fields. Let's show less, and let's just get people, a user through to send their first campaign. So Mailshake's a sales and marketing automation tool. Most customers use this for sending emails, whether it's inbound sales, outbound sales, marketing, nurture sequence, what have you. But they want to effectively start a campaign. That's the aha moment. So like we just removed a bunch of steps and distractions away from that. So it's like attach your email, attach your CRM if you want. Set some like basic sending rules that you click like high or low, or I don't know what I'm doing, I need help type of settings, and then like go and send your campaign. It's like 4 or 5 steps. And that's like we found that when people send their first campaign, they're, oh my God, that was amazing. I can't believe how easy it was. And it was only actually talking to users or watching user recordings, like actual videos of customers using the product, that I figured that out. And honestly took us, we did it pretty early on in the product, but it took us, I would say, way too long to get that information. It was probably within the first year, but we started the company originally focused on marketers. And we eventually, when we started watching these customers, either on a Zoom or recordings of screencasts, it was actually the salespeople that like, they would go through it and like, boom, I actually made some money in the first day. Like, cause when they send a campaign, they're selling something so they can actually start to see that impact immediately. And so we actually pivoted the company to focus primarily on sales reps as our customer. And we learned that our user flow, whether it was accident or intentional, I think maybe a little bit of both, was the magic sauce that gave everybody this experience. And the outcome was aha moment early. They told their friends. And then we're like, how can we encourage people to tell their friends? Right. And then, then how can you get more people through the flow so that more people would tell their friends? And so in that case, you could think about, in this particular example, we have a paywall. You have to pay before you do this. Well, we took the paywall off. Like, if we get 100 people through the door, because we charge $50 a month, if we took the paywall off and it's free for the first 14 days, maybe we get 100 people, 200 people. Well, that didn't work, because what ended up happening was people were interested. Maybe we got 300-400 people interested instead of 50, but they weren't actually going to the aha moment. So really, you have to maximize for word of mouth. You have to maximize people to aha moment or like lasting impression. And however you get them through the funnel makes all the difference there.
This is so good. I mean, I've talked to a lot of people on this podcast, and consistently one of the themes is helping people have an emotional connection or an experience, like you were saying, to you, your products and your services. And I loved how you were describing these aha moments and how details matter. I wrote down #details matter. And I think the reason that's so effective is because it shows your intention, right? And it shows your values. It shows why you're serving this customer. And they're just little details. Yeah. But they create that emotional experience. And when somebody can logically see why they need your product and service and feel that emotional connection, then you immediately separate yourself from the competition. All of a sudden, you're the only option because you're kind of meeting all of their needs, right? And to your point, not only do they have this experience, then they go and tell their friends. And so this is intentionally designed and engineered into your customer experience process. And it sounds like, yes, you can do your best guessing ahead of time, but you need to get your product or service out there so that you can analyze what's going on. And it sounds like you guys had one of those big discoveries, like, oh, the opportunity is to remove the friction to getting their first campaign out. And by doing that, you really separated yourself from the competition.
Absolutely. And so so doing this early is great. Actually doing this before you build or create anything is even better. So you've got an idea for whatever company you want to start, go create a beautiful UX and focus on user research and feedback, but don't actually have anything behind the screen. It just could be a mock-up, an interactive mock-up that people can go through and study where there is an aha moment, right? Now, if you have an enterprisey product or something that takes a long time to get value from, this is going to be harder for you. But it's still possible because it's not the aha moment, it's the emotional trigger. And that's triggered by the aha moment. Sometimes you buy, like we have a company that sells to, we have a company called Right Inbox, and it sells to a lot of, it's an email productivity tool. And a lot of our best customers are teachers and school districts. And the sales process is long, but we have like a free version, a freemium product where you can try it. So maybe you could try playing around with kind of the business model of the sign up flow to get maybe some traction before they purchase. So the way that works is an individual uses it. They like it. They share it with maybe their coworkers or friends. They hit the payment trigger. They're not authorized to pay. And then they go tell their like superintendent or their like whoever's in charge of budget at that school district to go buy this. And then it's like one or two teachers. And then like it turns into 50 schools use us and it's like 500 users. So we have a champion. They had an aha moment. Like, oh my God, I keep sending, there's this one feature that people really like. I keep having to send these recurring emails. I set a reminder for me to do it every week. I'm sending the same type of email. I wish I could just schedule these to recur automatically and then boom. Anyway, so that's one specific feature. And then that triggers this like champion and it triggers this like expansion. Now, how the heck do you know about this before this event happens? Well, that's where user feedback matters. And then that's where oftentimes you're not going to know about these experiences beforehand. So you have to constantly be monitoring kind of flow and get feedback often to see how you can then double down on these experiences.
Yeah. I'm curious to hear more of that. I can clearly see the power of these aha moments. And sometimes when you're the owner, the creator, the founder, you're so close to it that it's not obvious to you where that aha moment is. So what are some ways that you've talked about getting user feedback. How do you actually do that?
Yeah, I think the first point is looking at really focusing on how to make things. So I'm not a product person by trade or experience. When I worked prior to this, I was working at another software company, and the CEO is a product obsessed CEO, like every little detail. And I was like, oh, this is really magical. I could see him. I see all the little details. But I was like, why is he doing this? And I'm like, oh, well, every experience is a marketing touch, right? Good or bad. And so then I was like, I took this and took my own flavor. I was like, how can the experience help marketing? How can one user turn into 1.1 users or 2 users or 10 users or 50, right? And everyone knows about the like Dropbox, share it with a friend, get more storage. Microsoft's like Hotmail, set with Hotmail. These are like 2010 examples. I try to think about what can you do today to create a new version of that. Right now, the hot new thing is like drops. Something's dropping next week. Get it? There's only a limited quantity. All of this is arbitrary dates and arbitrary numbers. It's really creating like some buzz. So that's one way to do it. So there's multiple things. I always try to think about like, what can we do to kind of like create a splash or whatnot. But yeah, really, if you're too close to it, going back to your question, if you're too close to it, it's generally that you're too close to the actual nuts and bolts of like building the product. You need to go talk to customers. You need to make sure you understand the customer's point of view. I guarantee you, they do not care about like the secret sauce behind how things are done. They just want to know, like, I just want this to work better. Like, that's the answer, right? I don't know what work better means. I mean, you don't know when someone says that. You have to go pry and figure it out. So I don't do this as much anymore, but generally on Fridays, for like 5 years, I would I'd have 1 or 2 customer calls, and I wouldn't like call them specifically on that day. I would have an email sequence. I just ping customers like, hey, like, I want to talk to customers and get feedback, product feedback, and just ways we can help you better. Here's my calendar. If you want to chat, let's book a link. And I just like send that to like 10, 20% of customers. And I'd have my Fridays booked out with 1 or 2 customer calls. So that helped me really think about it from like not what like my product manager and developer and salesperson want to build because they can create more revenue this way if they sold this product or feature, but like what the heck the customer sees in their point of view. And so it's really thinking like the customer and having that like mindset constantly instilled and making the decisions based off of that.
Yeah. Yeah. What's cool is my background is product design, and we did this kind of, focus group, feedback, testing in physical products world. And I'm hearing similar, and it's what's cool is you're sending these messages to customers and making an invitation for them to get on. It sounds like one-on-one with someone from your team. So you can go, what's great about a one-on-one conversation is you can get down into the details, and to go back to the beginning of our conversation, those details matter. And whereas if it's like a group conversation, it's harder to go deep and you kind of stay more surface. So that's really cool that you made that part of your workflow to have these conversations and talk to your customers and get that feedback, because that's the beautiful thing about digital and the way that we build businesses today is you can get feedback on your products and services so quickly through lots of different ways. And I mean, this is one of them. And we need that feedback. And it's a way that we can continually iterate and improve our products and services, which is fantastic.
And one more thing I do with this information. And so if you're the CEO, and I think this is a great, like do it yourself is great for the first, if you're a small company, 5, 10, 15 employees, when you get to 20, that information needs to be really shared with everyone on the team. So I actually share these recordings with the whole team. And then we like share some of our learnings and whatnot with the whole company specifically. And then now I don't do the calls. My head of product does the calls, because what it turns out is when I was doing the calls, I knew the customer the best but my product manager is the one building making the decisions to build the stuff. She needs to hear it from the horse's mouth directly. I now am listening to the recordings, and they've got a process, and then we share the information and everything with like that. So yeah, it's been, so as you grow, it evolves, and it's important that like the people building the product are the ones talking to the customers the most. And then they share that and distill that information to the rest of the company. Yeah. We call it the voice of the customer. So we've just got this like Slack channel, and it's just full of feedback. Now, the product team has to figure out what they're going to listen to, what they're going to implement, priorities, and all the details after that. But really the first part is just like, are you actually listening and talking and communicating with your customer? And usually the answer is no, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think as a founder, owner, creator, it's easy to get really hooked on our own product and lose sight of the fact that that product exists to solve problems for people. And if you can really focus on your customer, it will help you improve and grow your business, because ultimately that's what it's about, right? And I've witnessed this, like sometimes I've watched people, and maybe I've even done this myself. I can't remember specifically, but like sometimes you'll get on with somebody like that. And as the creator, we'll start to explain why we designed it that way or why. And that's a huge mistake. Have you watched or personally experienced that, where rather than listening, and like, that's the key. I think sometimes it can be hard to just listen because they're criticizing your baby, so to speak. So I wanted to kind of highlight that it's so important to listen to them and not come up with all the excuses and reasons why it is that way, but actually listen to it, because that's the gold. That's what you need.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's age-old saying, you do not learn things from compliments, right? You learn things from struggles. You need feedback. And this is your time to like suck it up and listen, right?
Yes.
Because the customer can tell when you've got this, like when you're pushing back on stuff, and generally they have zero remorse for your pushback. Like this is so clunky is a common thing I would hear from somebody, but blah 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 with the include all these factors, and like, I don't care, it's still clunky. Like it doesn't change that it sucked, right? And again, it's because you already gave them that emotion. But so the other, when you combine this, I call it product UX, UI, minimizing, friction to get to aha moment with a good freemium, or, they call these days, it's more referred to as like product-led growth. It is, which is really fancy for saying free trial, freemium, get people to use your product. When you combine those two things, that's where an enormous amount of word of mouth comes from. So here's a quick and easy example. If you're a software founder, or a software CEO, or work at a software company, if you launch a new feature, think about, can you make that free? Is it big enough to make free? Will that help drive new marketing leads for you? I usually, my playbook is simple for launching new features and functionality is make that free. One, you get a lot of usage and give it to your existing customers, even though it might be like maybe a tier higher than they're paying for or whatever, give it to them for free. So recently we launched a data product at Mailshake, and we gave it to all customers for free. I followed that same, framework. Well, first of all, we have 50,000 sales and marketing reps using the product. We've got about like 5,000 or 6,000 people immediately using the product. We learned dozens of things that we need to make better, some small bug fixes, and a lot of feedback of what we could do better. And then people started running out of, like, we gave them an X amount of credits. They started running out of credits. Like, how do I pay? And we didn't actually have the payment system set up. And so you can't actually take money for you. Like, just we're going to give you more credits. Just like, here you go. Right. So, but we got them hooked. And then like a few weeks ago, we launched the payment, and then we got like, a couple dozen customers just doing nothing by just making it paid. Now, a couple dozen is not a huge thing, but now we have a whole new marketing funnel of people discovering our product and a whole experience from this path. And that was what we wanted to create. We created marketing value by creating a product for free. And I think these days, marketing, there's more competition than ever, easier than ever to build a new company. And people have raised a lot of funds and, marketing. So there's a lot of competition for attention and a lot of big budgets. So creating content, PPC, all these other like influencer marketing or advertising through an influencer, they're expensive. It's getting more and more expensive. It's actually my favorite way is creating a product solely for marketing purposes, which usually requires giving it away for free, because you get their attention, you get them to have an experience, and then you don't require them to buy. So that age-old saying of like you need 8 touches before a sale happens. I'd say these days it's probably like 20 to 30, given how much attention we need. Sure. You can get that 20, 30 like That's in true. Session 1, and now they're hooked. So I like to do those. I mean, I would recommend doing something like that, is creating products for free that either complement, supplement, or add to your main product. And or even just if you have customers, you launch something new, give it to all your customers, because you'll get to either improvements or like marketing value very, very quickly.
That's so great. I really like that last one. When you launch something new, give it to your current customers. Like there's no loss there, and add value. And then maybe they start to share it with people. And you, to your point, you get feedback and are able to improve it and then sell it.
Yep, exactly. And like a simple, if you have, it really depends on your price point and whatnot. But I'd say I challenge you to remove those beliefs or put those beliefs to the side for a moment. If you've got a $100,000 ACV enterprise sales motion, Well, first of all, I guarantee you, if I told you I could take 2 months off of it, if you created something for free, the ROI would be worth it, right? So like for large ACVs, it could shorten the deal cycle, or it could increase the number of champions you have to help push a deal through. And with a bad economy that we're in now, more champions is better, right? Like more people in the company saying, I need this is going to help. Is going to help you. So, not all of us, like not everyone in the software space has a luxury of being a product where product usage is word of mouth. Like again, Hotmail, right? More people sending emails, got more customers, got more users for them. Now, not everybody's in that space, but everyone can mirror something similar to do something in that way or to generate that outcome.
Quick question for you. What would happen in your business and life if you could show up powerfully? As a coach to high-performing entrepreneurs, I help intelligent people like you do just that. And if you want to be inspired by people who are getting more done in 90 days than most people do all year, I'm going to invite you to go check out my case studies. The website is now.katierichardsson.com/case study. And the cool thing is we've got so many case studies there. You can find an entrepreneur who's just like you. I've also got a link for you down in the show notes. Okay, back to the show.
Yeah. And to your point, like specifically in the software world, if you give it away for a month or 2 months, you potentially get that revenue back because it's a subscription, right? So I think it is important to look at how can you take this principle of helping people experience your product and your service, have that aha moment, and at the same time create new customers profitably in a way that makes sense for your business.
Yeah, exactly.
You've been in this marketing space for a long time, specifically in software, and I'm really curious what trends you're seeing today. Essentially, what is working now in marketing?
Yeah. So this is a good question. So I was at a marketing conference yesterday with tons, about 200 plus heads of marketing or growth from B2B software companies or just B2B companies in general. And we were talking about this exact topic, like what's working. And we all walked away from this like hour-long brainstorm session a lot has changed, but the principles are the same. I think that resonates with you, right? Like the new channels, new tactics, new ways to attract attention have emerged, but the fundamental principles behind that have not changed. Look, there's advertising. You could do advertising to get in front of your customer, right? Now there's TikTok advertising as a channel. I think influencers, YouTube advertising, all those. I think like short form video in general, advertising through there is now a more prevalent way, but that's just a format.
Yeah.
In 5 years, there'll be another 6 formats, or the formats are going to continue to evolve. Until it maybe becomes in your contact lens advertising at some point. But advertising is a great way to do it, right? One of the companies, if you're looking at like who's doing a really great job with advertising and leveraging influencers to promote their product, is Athletic Greens. AG1, if they do a great job. Another company is like what's it called? Like I think it's eFax but there's Athletic Greens. I'll go back to the example of Athletic Greens. They have a bunch of advertising. They have their they've got their influencers and athletes, and then they sponsor a bunch of podcasts. Yeah. And so what they really have is their persona locked down, because they sponsor. If you look at the podcast they sponsor, they're not necessarily the same topic. It's not about health and feeling good, right? But it's those same people who would then potentially buy this. And so anyways, they've just really narrowed down the audience. And so, and their customers. So that's number 2 here is like, hey, advertising still works really, really well. Obviously you need budget for it, but understanding your customer or buyer persona or in SaaS world or B2B world is ICP, right? Ideal customer persona. That matters the most. If you can get that locked down and almost down to a science, you can work around that, right? So here's a perfect example. So content has always worked. I think it'll always work forever. Educating, adding value to your potential customers always helps you, builds memorable experiences, what have you. But the format has moved, right? So for us, we really dug down to who's our customer at Mailshake. It's a sales rep. Okay, well, we had a blog. We still have a blog. It's been up to almost 500,000 visitors a month. And
wow,
we've attracted a lot of users, and a portion of them are sales. But we said, okay, well, this took us way too long to figure this out. Where do salespeople live? Where do they go? LinkedIn. We got, 10,000 views, and that created more ROI than 500,000 visitors on our blog. Because
advertising on LinkedIn?
Organic reach on LinkedIn.
Wow.
No advertising. All we did was take our 10 or 12 sales reps and we educated them how to kind of build their own brands on LinkedIn. And just started sharing that same content we have on our blog. We repurposed it. We took it out and made kind of shorter formats, or if there's a blog post on X ways to do whatever, each rep would share a different bullet point or a different tactic. But it was literally we got more value just sharing the content on LinkedIn, the proper format for LinkedIn, than 500,000 visitors a month to our site. And that's because, of the 500,000 visitors, how many of the salespeople? I don't know. I can't control that number. I can control the topic, but on LinkedIn, I know that salespeople. And then when we started to see that work, we doubled down. We did some advertising exactly around that ICP. Okay. So now we're not funded. We're a bootstrap company. We cannot compete with some of our larger competitors who have $100 million plus in funding, but I can spend $100 on ads a month to then promote this message and get it out there. And then that $100, if that generates me $500 or $300 or even $100, I can spend more and more and more. So that's essentially what happened. So understanding your customers and then being where they live is very, very important. I think the positioning and the messaging is also very, very important. Again, the market we live in today it's very crowded. It's going to get more crowded. You have to find a unique angle, point of view, and then double down in that, right? So again, I told you at Mailshake, our customers are salespeople, sales reps specifically, and they are the buyer. The decision maker, they are the user. The buyer is usually their boss or their boss's boss. Well, we've got content for both people. But we've really focused our content on the champion, which would be the user. And so we have a newsletter that's all about leveling up as a sales rep. So it's targeted at one persona. It's actually written by a sales manager, and it's around what I wish I knew to help me get to where I'm at, right? And so it's all and it's the same content, just themed and bucketed differently based off of a point of view that's unique. Well, it's not even that unique. It's just a pointed point of view. So you could think about if you're in a space, in a crowded space, surely you have a unique point of view. Lean into that.
I love that. I think, I haven't personally been very active on LinkedIn, but as you're saying this, I'm like, duh, Katie. That is where my people are. I started out my entrepreneurial career in a totally different space and had built up an Instagram channel. And so that's where I've continued to be active. But to your point, when you know your customer really well and are taking content maybe that you're producing in other places, but make sure you're putting it in that place where your customer is, that's a no-brainer. And yet, here I am seeing, I have totally disregarded LinkedIn. And yet, as you're saying all of this, I know there's probably a way higher percentage of people on LinkedIn who want and need what I can share with them than on Instagram, where those people are just looking for a pretty picture, honestly.
Yeah. And so here, and if you've got content, like a lot of people are like, oh, I don't know how to do this. Well, that's what ChatGPT, and like, what would a podcast be in 2023 without a mention of AI, right? So here's here's my signature AI. Go use ChatGPT to say, turn this blog post into a tweet thread, right? For Twitter, turn this blog post into a LinkedIn post. And then every network, every social network now has a different format that they really want, right? Mm-hmm. Really, at the end of the day, it's all about keeping the attention on that platform. So like, you wouldn't link to the post in the post. You wouldn't link to the article in the post. You'd put it in the comments. And then you also, or you would even ask, like, who wants access to this? And then you get it's all about engagement. That's what drives up views and impressions. And so, like, you'd ask, who wants access to my ebook? Even though on your website it's there for an email address, the ask here is like, okay, here you go. And then you then DM them all the content, which could just be, again, a link to your whatever ungated ebook. So it's just a different format. And again, instead of trying to like figure it out yourself, just go get AI to do the heavy lifting for you. And then, it generally, so it's not perfect. It'll save you it'll save you all the creative work, and you just have to edit it, which is great. Like, our sales rep, one of our company's Zoom shift, we sell to I guess we sell to a lot of educational institutions, but we sell to like schools and police departments. And he's just like, how do I make small talk with teachers? And this is perfect. What questions do I ask a teacher on a call to help build rapport? And it gave like 7-8 different questions. And I was like, these are actually kind of good. And so anyways, I think like there's a lot of cool usage, especially when you're like, how do I do something or do this for me? And it's like, it's not gonna be perfect, but it'll definitely save you a lot of time.
It does. And like recently I used it. I was speaking in Vegas last week and I used it and it gave me like some really great ideas. And what's interesting is it sparked something new, an idea within me, and my presentation ended up going in a totally different direction. But when you're creating something from scratch, rather than starting with, the blank page with the blinking cursor, it's a way to give yourself an advantage and a head start. And it then becomes something that you can work with, which I think is really smart. I'm loving all this conversation on LinkedIn. I'm realizing as you're saying this, like I had kind of identified LinkedIn as a potential way for me to market myself like 3 or 4 years ago. But I personally was getting really spammed with like the same scripted messages inside of my messages of LinkedIn. But it sounds like what you're doing is in your feed, and you're giving content, you're giving value on your posting. And then from there, you're inviting people to, make a comment below if you want this thing, right? And so you're engaging with them in the comments of your post.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I think that, and that might change what works of what LinkedIn wants might change. Yeah. That's okay. Like the whole premise is like LinkedIn kind of woke up a few years ago and said like, we're going to do stuff. The reality is they've probably been doing this for like about 10 years. I've seen this since like 2014 where like they've launched these products. Like you could actually create a newsletter on LinkedIn. And it's like it'll send you a message or a notification every time you publish that newsletter, and that newsletter will be published, and if you're a subscriber, you can get it. If you're not, it'll ask you to subscribe before you can see the subscription. But again, it's like their whole MO is keeping you on the platform. Same thing with like, I'd say like Instagram stories and YouTube shorts specifically. So YouTube is pushing YouTube shorts, trying to compete with TikTok right now. And it's working. Shorts usage, I forgot where I read this, but like, I think it's Charter, that YouTube shorts is like kind of the growth driver for YouTube videos these days. Well, you create shorts, turn these podcasts into shorts. And we do that. Yeah. We have like 2 podcasts, and our podcast, people will know this now, but we don't have a lot of podcast subscribers. We actually have a lot of YouTube views and LinkedIn views because it's all the sliced up, in this interview, I might have a nugget that like you want to take out and like put that into a 20, 30-second video, put it on YouTube Shorts, LinkedIn, and that will then blossom into something of impressions and value for you.
Yeah. I was recently talking to a YouTuber who has like 3.5 billion views. And he started testing shorts in November of last year. And he saw a huge spike in subscriptions from shorts. He creates long form content, but the shorts were significantly bumping up subscribers, which is fantastic. Yeah. And I think to your point, the platforms are always shifting and changing. The principles are always true. It's a matter of identifying what's working now, what's the kind of favored method, platform, algorithm, and how can we play to that to drive and speak to our ideal customer and client.
Yep. And be prepared to lose and like it not, and be unsuccessful. So everyone who built like I think when Snapchat became popular in the B2B world, or like when it started to like get a lot of like mentions in the news, like 2017, 18, and I think I was like a top 10 Snapchat influencer. Like I had my Snapchat, 5 seconds of fame, whatever it was. Right. I even got I was on TV once or twice for talk about Snapchat, how businesses can use it and blah, blah, blah. But then it went to zero, right? Like it went like crazy high business value, no business value. Right. So sometimes fads and trends come in and you ride them early and they don't work. Right. So some of these things won't work, but I look at this as like opportunity cost. Like I'd rather take an opportunity that comes in. Like if you talk about AI right now, you're likely to get traction on something. If you don't, you've missed the boat on a trending topic. That may, well, let's be real. It will go, the buzz will go away and something else will come up. Right. And so, so I don't know if you ride the wave up, you have everything to gain. If you don't, you have zero to gain. So like your best result is zero. So I'd rather take the chance on a platform. And then again, like for example, Instagram, like great for e-commerce B2C, but like for me, I have zero value in it. So if I focus even just repurposing my content there, it's not the right customer, right segment or place. So it's not going to help. So I think you just got to be smart about making sure really where your customers are hanging out.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is cool. Like, I love how this conversation has gone. We started with creating that first incredible aha moment / experience, emotionally connecting with your customer, looking at those details. And then we've talked about tactically, how can you do that? And it's really incredible to hear how you've utilized LinkedIn, how you've utilized AI. And I think it's important for everybody to consider, where is your ideal customer and client? Where are they hanging out? And how can you utilize that platform and the unique perspective that you have to show up on that platform and to utilize what Sujan's talked about? You create some sort of a free offer, free invitation to get engagement, get people using you and your unique perspective, have that aha moment, and then move them into your other products and services. I think, to your point, you said this in the beginning, what's always worked is what's still working. Like the principles are still true. And it is helpful to hear how you're currently applying the true principles inside of your business. And I'm like second guessing myself, like maybe I need to go start a software company, because it's so obvious what you could give away for free inside of a software company. It's not necessarily as obvious for somebody like me who has a coaching and teaching practice. I have free offers, but like that's really enticing to be able to give somebody access to your program for 14 days for free. Like that's incredible. I don't know. Maybe I need to let people in my program for 14 days for free and then I kick them out. But it's really great to meet you, to learn from the wisdom of your experience. And if anybody's not watching this video, you've got these adorable drawings and paintings behind you. I'm guessing you've done all of this incredible marketing while raising a family. You have kids?
Yeah, I've got 3 young kids, twins that are 3 and then a 5-year-old. So these are all the drawings of I don't know, one of the 3 kids. And yeah, I just like, we every couple weeks, we like take a new one and put it on the wall, and now it's become a thing where like they have no more wall space to put on stuff. Like, let's just put it in the middle of all this stuff. It was just going to become like a fire hazard at some point. So yeah, that's been a challenge. That, maybe that's a talk for another episode on like not even work-life balance, but more so like how to do it all, right? Like, because I do have, I try to be an active dad and spend time with my kids, but I also have a lot of hobbies, high adrenaline hobbies that
It looks like it. Because you also have like racing hats behind you and helmets.
Yeah, I do a lot of, pretty much I like anything that can go fast and potentially, get very injured or die from. Everything else is kind of boring. But yeah, so I believe as an entrepreneur, like you can you can do it all. It's just a matter of like letting go. I think the first part is like letting go and building out teams and processes. And so last thing is I'd say is like saying no more than you say yes. Like I just, most of the time I talked about all these marketing ideas, but like 99% of marketing ideas I say no to, and just like, we just kill, because a lot of times an idea, if you just play out, if it's going to be successful and you put a number to it and you play out, okay, it's going to drive this many eyeballs and this many clicks, and then this is a conversion rate. It's going to do what? Hold on, that's not enough. That doesn't move the needle. If you just did that logic for every marketing or sales idea you had, you too could say no to 99% of marketing ideas.
Yeah, that's awesome. And honestly, like it's a big part of why I'm here and why I do what I do. I'm a mother of 4. And so nice. It's always been a journey of how can I utilize my gifts and talents to help people in the world? And at the same time, how can I be present and committed as a wife, as a mother? And I think to your point, there is a way to do it. It's not always obvious, but when you can figure that out, like that's the ultimate. It really is, because success in business alone, when you have broken relationships like that, it doesn't justify the destruction, right? And it can be hollow on its own. And when you can have both, I think it becomes this virtuous cycle spinning upwards, and both worlds can benefit each other. And so it's really incredible to meet you and to literally see on your back wall the kind of father that you are. And as an artist and a creator myself, it's really cool to see your young kids exploring and creating. It's super inspiring. So thank you. This has been incredible. It's really insightful for me personally, which I just really appreciate and I value. And I know that the audience is feeling the same way.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. It was fun to chat about this. I feel like I had all these little pieces in my brain that was able to kind of connect and put together. Yeah.
Cool. If somebody wants to connect with you on social media, where are you most active? You mentioned LinkedIn. Yeah, that's LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the place I'm active. Just find me, search Sujan Patel and connect with me and mention this podcast. And, I'll maybe give you some cool behind the scenes content. I would love that. That's so cool. Okay. Sujan, thank you so much. This has been incredible. And for everybody listening, this is What's Working Now. Hey, thanks for listening. I am sitting here so curious to know, what is your greatest takeaway from today's episode? We talked about a lot of things, and my hope is something in particular is really popping up for you. And if you heard my message in the middle of today's episode and you're wondering, hey, Katie, how can you help me get more done in the next 90 days than most people do all year? I'm going to invite you to go to that website, now.katierichardson.com/case study. I have 8 incredible VIP clients who have been so generous to share their stories of the problems that they were facing when they first met me and what they have been able to do because of the formulas, the systems, the processes that I have taught them as they have learned this art of showing up powerfully in their business. So go find the entrepreneur who's most like you, who's going to inspire you to see new possibility. And if you so feel inclined, I'm going to invite you to go to the next page where you're going to see a 6-minute video, and I show you the secret behind the work that I'm doing with these incredible entrepreneurs. It might surprise you. So go watch that video. And then if you feel so inclined, fill out an application, because you and I will hop on the phone and we'll have one of the most impactful conversations you have potentially ever had in your life. I've had a client say, Katie, that call was priceless. And I was like, cool. Can you at least name a price? And he said,
at least it was worth $10,000. So you have an opportunity to qualify for that if you fill out an application, if you qualify and meet the minimum requirements. And please, by all means, keep listening. I'll see you in the next episode and keep being awesome.